Today I'm going to be doing a review for Spectre Challenger for the iPod, iPhone, and iPad. A little while ago I discovered, based on some random internet searching, that Spectre Challenger, a classic game from my childhood, was now available for iOS devices. So I rushed out to the App Store and picked and got a copy of it and put it on my my iPhone. And I was really surprised to discover that it was actually just a lot like the original game. The same kind of graphics, the same kind of the vector graphics that were popular in many games in the 80s and 90s, and the same kind of gameplay. Some of the same types of ships you had to destroy were all there. So it was really great, and I was really happy to learn that. So this game over here, which is called Spectre, so you can see it over here, it's a really interesting kind of game. If you're not familiar with Spectre, the object of the game is to go around in your little green battleship and capture flags from other tanks and destroy the tanks. And it starts out very simple. You know, it takes about one hit or so to kill the red tanks, and as you move on, it gets harder and harder. Every 5 levels or so, I think 10 levels, you go up, it takes more and more your ammo to hit the tanks. So, a little bit of history with the game. It was originally developed by Peninsula Gameworks and Velocity Development in 1990. And later versions, Spectre VR and Spectre Supreme, were to follow in 1993 and 94 respectively. And like I said, when I was a kid, we had this on my old back, and we used to play it for hours and hours and hours. I would spend 2 to 3 hours at night time playing this game, and you know, just destroying all the tanks, getting the flags, and of course, as you go on, the levels change, and there's certain it gets harder, but it's a very challenging VR arcade game. It was one of the first multiplayer arcade games they had in the 90s, that as far as I remember, doing my research. And then later on, with my iMac, I discovered this really cool website called Macintosh Garden, macintoshgarden.org, where you can go and find all these cool old abandoned games that you used to play as a kid. And sure enough, this game was on there, along with another game called VR, as I mentioned earlier, and Supreme, which came out later. And I wasn't even aware about that, because all I'd known was the original classic, they called it now, which was what we had, which was only about 7 levels. Now VR and Supreme had dozens more levels, and there were more challenges. They had more, weapons, and ammo, and whatnot. So the challenge was more challenge, but also a lot of fun. So to start, you got a thing over here. You got single player options, multiplayer setup over here. For this demonstration, we'll just say single player. You can choose between classic, VR, and arcade. And also your whether you want ammunition or whatever. Your difficulty: easy, medium, or hard. Now I choose medium, because I'm not. It's kind of hard. I found it was kind of hard to get used to the controls over here, as I'll explain here in a minute on how they work. It's different from the regular game where you use the mouse and the arrows. Here you have to use the touch screen, which your thumbs, like over here, and your right thumb over here, and shoot, which are a little bit over here, and change your weapon. I'll show you that in a minute. So with classic over here, I'll start, and then you choose, before you start, you choose your what kind of tank you want. We've got your standard tank over here, whether you want, which is, I'll always go with that because I know it was a very safe bet. Your strong, and then your custom. And of course you can make, whatever kind of tank you really want. So I'll use just standard over here. Now to start over here, you move around over here, and you have to go and find the red tanks. You can go over here, there's little shapes over here, you can get ammo. Pop up if I turn the sound off a little bit. So go over here. It's kind of hard. You shoot a little team of guys over here, and you get your flags over here. The green, those little green squares, prepare your ammo, and you got basically all you got to do. And you can, if you If you kill all the red tanks, though, you can get extra bonus points, which is really, really good. So if you want to take the time to do that, it's really, really good. Let's see here. So you can just pause the game by pressing the wrench over here. Now you can have options and exit, and there's 3 modes over here. If you notice over here on the right side of your screen over here, cockpit, behind, and top down. Cockpit is the one I generally choose. It's the mode where you have that little triangular motion where it's just like if you're right by the tank. Behind is the mode where you are, where it shows you the entire tank, and then about 20 or 30 feet around you. So it's really good. And the top down is the aerial view where you can see the like a kind of like you were on a helicopter flying over the general vicinity. So that's generally the way you play that game, and it's pretty simple and basic, and it's really fun. So the next game over here, game over. Next game over here, forget about that. The next game over here, switch the view over here, is called Spectre VR. Now VR is like Supreme in many ways, but it's much more difficult. There's more enemies, there's more bullets, you can change bullets, you can jump around. It's just a lot more challenging, but it's also a lot funner. And then arcade will get here in a minute. So we'll choose VR, and let's start. Standard, same tank over here, just to show you the purpose. And over here, now some of the very first things you'll see over here is you got some of the same things over here. You shoot over here, and then your start over here as a your joy thing over here. The orange guy over here takes 2 hits. So you got to hit him over here, or he takes like I guess 4 or 5 hits. You go around over here. That's about it. So the same thing over here. You get the flags. You got blue squares over here, which are really cool because you get to fly around over here, which is really neat. Just kind of makes you immune from the enemies for a little while. I noticed over here that aiming on this game can be a bit difficult because, like, if you're like me, you grew up with the older one. We had the keyboard and mouse, as I explained earlier, so it's kind of difficult. It's really cool. You can get this over here, and you'll be like a little spear of some sort. It's basically the same game, same concept, but it's just much harder, but more challenging and more fun. If you're up for the more challenge, once you get used to playing on the classic over there, you can go on to the other mode and take them challenge. You can run over here, run your little over here, and that's it. So some of the shapes over here are different. You notice you can kind of warp around over here to a different level. Like this over here to level 10. If you don't feel like doing all the levels, that's really cool. There's just various settings throughout the game over here that you can look around and find cool little things. Now, the thing over here on top, the bullets over here. Every 10 levels you go, you get to have more levels. That makes it harder, but you get to have more firepower and whatnot. So you have different various shapes over here. You can change your weapons over here, jump over here. Yeah, it's kind of difficult to do this, but just by talking, it's kind of difficult to play this and talk at the same time. So I'll return the game over here. Now, exit over here, game over. Yeah. There's another mode over here too, which wasn't available with me. I don't know if they had this. I don't think they had this in the original game. Because I don't know. They've not challenged, but maybe they had this for VR. It's one where you can do a multiplayer game where you can choose whether you want to do Bluetooth or internet, and probably like you can do like I think up to 16 people at a time. But I don't really have any friends that have this game, so unfortunately I'm not really one to demonstrate that game. But if you go to the website, I think it's Spectre, PlaySpectreNow.com or whatever. I'll put a link to it. You can check it out and just look around. But you need obviously more than one player. It's you're challenging yourself. You're around in the arena and you're fighting yourself and trying to get capture the flag without the other enemies. There's a couple other games too. They've got area, flag rally, capture the flag, and then base raid, which are all various interesting games. Let's see here. So I hope you guys like this little review over here. And then let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Thank you, everyone.